That laugh stopped me in my tracks. I had come home almost an hour earlier than planned. Both hands full of groceries for the dinner party we were meant to host tonight. A few close friends were coming over to our old Fitzroy terrace. The sort of night Nathan liked to describe as cozy. Home-cooked. Nothing loud or messy like the city restaurants. I still remembered his message from the supermarket. Take your time. I'll do the appetizers. The cheese board. Slice the bread. Open the wine. Everything will be ready when you get back. But the laughter I heard was not coming from the kitchen, where he said he would be. It was coming from upstairs. My name is Sienna Ward. I am 32. And I work in financial analysis for an asset management firm in Melbourne CBD. I have been married to Nathan for 7 years. 7 years is long enough to learn each other's habits. Long enough to know who forgets to shut a window before the rain hits. Long enough to understand that silence in a house with two people can still feel heavy. We live in an old terrace with a narrow hallway. Timber stairs that creak in a very particular way. And a tiny back garden I water every morning like a ritual to keep myself steady. We do not have children. For the past year, we have tried. Appointments. Charts. The way I would smile too politely when friends talked about babies. The way Nathan would turn his back and fall asleep early while I stared at the ceiling asking myself what I had done wrong. We were still civil. We still ate dinner. We still went to work. But care had started to feel scheduled. Not instinctive. I set the grocery bags down on the marble kitchen island. The cutting board was clean and dry. No smell of garlic. No olive oil. No signs of any appetizers at all. Nathan's phone was on the bench, buzzing with a work notification. I did not mean to look. But the screen lit up as my eyes passed over it, a calendar reminder for 3 p.m. A meeting in the city. It was 1:30 p.m. He should have been changing his shirt, grabbing his bag, heading out the door. So why was he upstairs? And who was laughing? I slipped off my heels and placed them neatly by the entry. I walked up the stairs so quietly that I hated the feeling of it. Like I was sneaking around in my own home. I heard a woman's giggle. Then a soft shush. And then a voice that was so familiar I did not need any more proof. You're getting better at this. That voice belonged to Harper Blake. My hairdresser for more than 3 years. The one who always called me love, in that friendly Australian way. The one who used to stand behind me at the mirror, brushing my hair and talking about wealthy clients in Toorak. Telling me I looked exhausted. Telling me I worked too hard. The sound was coming from the guest bedroom at the end of the hallway. The door was mostly closed. My heart thumped so hard I thought it would give me away. My hand rested on the door handle, my palm damp with sweat. Part of me wanted to turn around. Pretend I had heard nothing. Invent a harmless explanation and keep living. But the stronger part of me, the part that had been swallowing the emptiness in my marriage for too long, pushed forward. I opened the door. I saw them before they could even turn around. In the mirror of the antique vanity I had restored last summer. Nathan was standing behind Harper. Both of them facing the mirror, as if it was something they had rehearsed. His hands were on her waist. Harper wore a light blouse with a few buttons undone. Her blonde hair was glossy, freshly highlighted. And the sight of it hit me like a slap because I suddenly remembered myself sitting in her salon chair, paying her, smiling at her, telling her bits of my life like she was safe. They froze when they saw my reflection. Sienna, Nathan spun around, his face draining of color. You're home early. Harper blinked rapidly and tugged at the front of her blouse, as if that gesture could turn everything into a small misunderstanding. It's just... We were just done, I said. My voice was calm. Almost cold. Don't insult me with excuses. Nathan stepped towards me. Both hands raised like I was the one doing something wrong. Love. This isn't what it looks like, I laughed. Sharp and dry. Like metal scraping stone. It never is. Is it? I backed out of the room. My hand trembled on the door. And in a split-second decision that surprised even me, I pulled the door shut and turned the old skeleton key that was still in the lock. The lock clicked with a heavy final sound. Nathan had always called that key charming. Perfect for an old terrace. Now it was the only thing in the house doing its job. His voice came through the thick timber door. Sienna. What are you doing? Open the door, I heard Harper say my name. Small and panicked. I did not answer. I went back downstairs, walked into the kitchen, and poured myself a glass of red wine Nathan had been saving for the right occasion. I took a sip. It was bitter and warm, and it did not comfort me at all. But it helped me keep breathing. I took out my phone. In my contacts was a number I had saved but only called once, Luke Hayes. Harper's boyfriend. I had met him at the salon's Christmas party on Chapel Street. Harper introduced him with pride, saying he was a pediatric surgeon at the Royal Children's Hospital. He was tall, broad-shouldered, neatly trimmed beard, kind eyes. The sort of person who looked used to fragile moments and knew how to stay steady inside them. I pressed call. As it rang, I caught my reflection in the kitchen glass. I expected tears. Instead, I saw a pale face and a strange determination. As if something inside me had shut down forever. Hello, Luke answered. His voice slightly rushed. My name is Sienna Ward. I said, I'm Harper's client. There's something you need to know. A brief silence. What is going on? I think you should come here right now, I said. Each word clear, and I think you should see it for yourself. Right now, I did not say much more. I gave him the address and the best way to come in. Then I ended the call. Only then did I remember the odd little fault with that guest room door. Once it was locked from the outside. The key mechanism, sometimes jammed. I had meant to get it fixed for months. I never had. And now I was glad. 20 minutes. That is how long it took Luke to arrive at my front door. 20 minutes of Nathan moving between threats and pleading. And finally desperate apologies from behind the locked door. 20 minutes of me sitting calmly at the kitchen island, sipping wine and staring at the grocery bags like they were part of a bad joke. If anyone asked me how I stayed calm, I could not explain it. Sometimes, when something snaps too suddenly, the body switches off feeling so it does not collapse. Luke stepped inside and stood awkwardly in the entry. Your call was confusing. Is everything all right? I did not offer him wine. I just asked the one question that kept me anchored to the basic facts. How long have you been with Harper? Almost 2 years, he said. Looking around, Sienna. What is happening? Is Harper here? She's upstairs, I said. In the guest bedroom. With my husband, the color drained from Luke's face. For a moment I thought he might turn and leave. But he took a deep breath, squared his shoulders, and gave a small nod. Show me, he said. We went up the stairs. Near the bedroom, Nathan's voice became louder. Sienna. Please. Open the door. I'll explain. I'll do anything. Luke stood at the door. His voice low but firm. The kind of voice that would carry in a hospital. Harper. Open the door, inside. Everything went silent. Then Harper's voice. Tiny and shaking. Luke. Why are you here? Open it. Luke said. Now Nathan jumped in, trying to keep control. We can't. It's locked from the outside. I stepped forward. the key in my hand. Luke looked at me with a question he did not say out loud. And I asked him straight, "Are you sure you want to see?" Luke nodded. Eyes fixed on the door. "I need to." I turned the key. The mechanism stuck for a beat, then gave way. I opened the door. Nathan and Harper had made themselves look more presentable, as if straightening clothes could clean the truth. They stood a few steps apart, like distance could undo what had already happened. But guilt and panic were written across their faces in a way they could not hide Luke. "I can explain," Harper began, her voice breaking. Nathan turned to me first, trying to pull the story back into our marriage. "I thought you were at the charity committee meeting." "It was cancelled," I said. "Unlike your morals, my schedule can change." Luke stood still for a long moment, looking at Harper like a doctor reading a diagnosis. He did not want to accept. "How long?" he asked. Harper looked away. No answer. That was enough. I walked to the guest room wardrobe and opened it. I did not have to search. The truth was already hanging there. 3 of Harper's silky blouses, neatly arranged. Beside a pair of high heels, "She has a wardrobe here," I said, my voice steady. "Convenient for lunchtime meetings." Luke's jaw tightened. He turned and walked out of the room. Harper rushed after him, calling his name, crying, apologizing, scrambling down the stairs. A moment later, the front door slammed. Harper froze halfway down the hallway, torn between chasing Luke and coming back for her things. Nathan turned to me, his eyes red, his face stripped of confidence. "Sienna, we need to talk." I looked at him like he was a stranger wearing my husband's clothes. "Oh, we will talk. But first I need to make a few calls." "Calls for what?" His voice shook. I left the room and let him stand in the scent of someone else's perfume and his own shame. I did not stay in the house that night. I drove to my sister's flat in Carlton North. She listened, swore at Nathan without running out of words, then sat me at her table and made me drink water, made me breathe. She said, "Don't cry in front of him. Cry here. Tomorrow we do the work." When I went back home late that night, the house was dark, except for a glow from Nathan's home office. He was hunched over his laptop, hair disheveled, eyes rimmed red, like a man who had dug his own hole and only now realized he was standing at the bottom of it. "Sienna," he said, relief washing over his face. "I've been calling you for hours." I set my bag down and leaned against the doorframe. I turned my phone off. "Where's Harper?" I asked. Even though I did not really care she left, he said, "Tried to catch up with Luke." "How much money have you spent on her?" I asked bluntly. "Hotels, gifts, things you never buy for your wife." Nathan froze. "What money?" I opened my bank app. I had already looked on the drive back. A large cash withdrawal yesterday. A jewelry charge. Several hotel transactions in the CBD on his personal card. Visible because he sometimes moved money from our joint account to cover it. "The diamond earrings in your bag," I said, an envelope with Harper's name on it. "The cash withdrawals. The nights you said you were working late." The color drained from his face. "How do you know?" he stammered. "I work in financial analysis." "Nathan," I said, "following money is my job." He sank back into the chair. Whatever apology he had prepared collapsed as the numbers spoke for themselves. "How long?" I asked. He stared at the floor. 6 months. 6 months. Half a year of lying. While we were still talking about trying for a baby. While I was still taking vitamins and pretending I was not breaking inside. "It started at the charity gala," he said. Like he needed to finish the story and earn forgiveness. "You left early for work." "She was doing hair for the event." "Stop," I said, lifting my hand. "I don't need the origin story." "It meant nothing," he insisted, "just physical. Convenient." Exciting. Then you're even worse than I thought, I said. Because you can destroy a life just for convenience. Nathan stood and moved towards me. You have to believe me. It wasn't I don't have to believe anything you say ever again. I cut in. I also called your boss. His eyes widened in panic. You told me you were staying late for the Yara Group merger 3 nights a week. Your boss was surprised. That file has been finished for weeks. His mouth opened. Then shut. Another lie exposed. Where were you those nights? Nathan, I asked. He looked away. Sienna. Please. With Harper, I said, or was there someone else too? No one else, he snapped. Anger flaring like a last defense. And you had no right to call my boss. Like, you had no right to sleep with my hairdresser in my house, I said. Still calm. And I've checked the house paperwork. He froze. My parents paid the deposit, I said. They documented it as being for me. My lawyer says it matters. And I transferred half of our savings into my own account to protect my share. That last part made him go pale. He understood exactly what it meant. I had acted first. You're really ending this, he said. I'm really living. I answered, and I'm not letting you keep pulling me under. The next few days were cold and organized. Nathan stayed in the main bedroom. I stayed in the guest room. We moved around each other like ghosts. He waited for me to break. To cry. To show emotion he could use as a doorway back in. But I did not give him that door. I was not trying to be cruel. I was trying to survive without letting him rewrite what he had done. On the 4th day, the doorbell rang. I opened it and found Luke on my front step. He looked more composed than the last time I had seen him. But there was still a tiredness in his face that made him look older. I hope it's all right that I came by, he said. I got your address from Harper's appointment book. I let him in. We sat in the living room like two strangers connected by the same ugly thread. How are you holding up, he asked. Better than I expected, I said. And it was true. Luke exhaled slowly. Like he had been holding his breath for days. She's called. She's texted. She showed up at my apartment. I haven't let her in. I nodded. Nathan keeps trying to talk like he can negotiate the truth. Luke looked at me. Then reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. I found this when I packed my things. I wasn't sure if you should see it. But I think you should. I opened it. Inside was a glossy brochure for a beachfront property. Not here. Overseas. There were printouts of job listings and emails about timing. Money. And leaving, cleanly, there were dates. Plans. A whole future that did not include me. Written down like a shopping list. My throat tightened. He was planning to leave. They both were. Luke said Harper has been studying Spanish. I thought it was for clients. It hit me then. Harder than the guest room mirror ever could. This was not just an affair. It was an exit plan. I looked up. Why are you showing me this? Because you deserve to know exactly what you're dealing with, Luke said, and because I think we should protect ourselves properly. Not revenge. Protection. Before I could answer, the front door opened. Nathan walked in. Stopped short when he saw Luke. And his face hardened. What is he doing here? Nathan demanded. I stood. I felt steadier than I had in days. Luke brought me some interesting reading about your plans. Nathan's face went pale. His eyes flicked to the papers in my hand. Then to Luke. You had no right. No right to what Luke cut in. His voice calm but sharp. To stop you abandoning your wife after moving money around behind her back. Nathan tried to shift his stance. Tried to regain control the way he always did in meetings. This is between me and my wife. It stopped being private when you brought her hairdresser into our guest room. I said, and I am done with private conversations that give you room to twist things. Nathan stepped closer. Lowering his voice, Sienna. Can we talk alone? Please? No. I said I spoke to a family lawyer. In Australia, it's no fault. Sure. But property is still property. And I will not let you drain ours while pretending to be sorry. Nathan's jaw tightened, so that's it. You're throwing me out. I'm asking you to leave for now. I said because I need separation to be real. And I need space to think without you filling every corner of the house with excuses. Nathan stared at me. Then at Luke. And a new accusation flashed across his face. So what? You've already moved on. The hypocrisy was so ridiculous, I almost laughed. Don't do that. You don't get to act betrayed. Nathan grabbed his keys. Fine. I'll stay at the Marriott in the city. Call me when you've calmed down enough to be reasonable. He left. And the door clicked shut behind him. Luke and I stood in silence for a moment. I should go, he said. Thank you for bringing that, I replied. Tapping the envelope. I needed to know, at the doorway. Luke paused. For what it's worth. You handled that with more control than most people could. It doesn't feel like control. I admitted, it feels like I'm walking on glass. Luke nodded. I understand. And I want to say something carefully. Because I don't want to make your life messier. But I can help you protect your finances if you want. Before medicine. I worked in cybersecurity. I still consult sometimes. Nothing illegal. Just organizing information you already have rights to access. Making sure nothing disappears. And documenting patterns for your lawyer. I looked at him. I did not see a man trying to step into my life. I saw someone who understood that betrayal is not just emotional. It is logistical. All right, I said, but it stays clean. Legal. No games, agreed. Luke said. From that week on, we worked like surgeons. Every evening after work, Luke came over, and we sat at my dining table with laptops open and documents spread out. Luke knew where digital trails hide. Archived emails. Account notifications. Logins that leave timestamps. The boring details people overlook because they assume no one will check. I knew how to read numbers like sentences. How to spot transfers designed to look harmless. How to recognize when a pattern is not accidental. What we uncovered was worse than I expected. Over 6 months, Nathan had been shifting money in small amounts. Layering transfers through accounts that were not in our usual orbit. There were hotel charges and gifts. Yes. But there were also structured movements that looked like preparation. Not temptation. There was a small company registered under a bland name with a bank account linked to it. The name on the paperwork made my stomach turn. SW, Advisory. My initials. A neat little camouflage. Like a joke at my expense. Luke leaned back in his chair one night, rubbing his eyes. He's been planning this. He hasn't just been cheating. I said quietly, he's been positioning. We gave everything to my lawyer. We did not threaten. We documented. My lawyer advised me on what I could do to protect assets and how to approach a settlement without turning it into a circus. I kept my messages to Nathan short. Clear. No emotion he could feed on. On Monday, I texted Nathan, meeting tomorrow. 7 p.m. Home office. Bring your laptop. His reply came instantly. Is your lawyer coming? I wrote back. Bring your laptop. The next night, Nathan arrived on time. Wearing the face he used for client meetings, composed. Confident. Ready to negotiate. That face faltered when he saw Luke sitting in the chair by my desk. What is this? Nathan demanded. Staying in the doorway. A negotiation, I said. Sit down. I'm not discussing my marriage with him here. This isn't about our marriage. I replied, it's about money. Our money. I slid a folder across the desk. Inside were timelines. Transaction summaries. Account references. and screenshots of communications that tied movement to intent. Nathan flipped through, and I watched the color drain from his face. "How did you?" he started. "Does it matter?" Luke said. Calm. "What matters is you did it." Nathan tried to pull himself together. "This is harassment. This is stalking my finances. My finances too," I said. "Joint assets, shared accounts, and records you thought I would never bother to read." I kept my voice even. "Here's what happens next. You return what you've moved. Immediately. As much as can be returned immediately. You stop all unusual transfers. You provide full disclosure to my lawyer. And you sign a written acknowledgement of what you did. So, you can't pretend later that you don't understand what we are addressing." Nathan's mouth tightened. "I need to consult my solicitor." "Do that," I said, "but understand this. If you try to stall while moving money again, my lawyer will seek court orders to preserve assets. I am not giving you time to make the problem disappear." Nathan stared at me. "You never used to be like this. You never used to be like that," I replied. "So, here we are." He opened his laptop with shaking hands. "Some of it is tied up. Untie it," Luke said flatly. For 2 hours, we watched him undo what he had done. Transfers back to the right places. Payments reversed where they could be. Explanations typed into bank fields with the kind of care he had never offered me in conversation. By 9 p.m., most of it was returned. Nathan swallowed. "The rest will take a day or two. You have until Friday," I said. "And you sign this tonight," he signed. After he left, Luke and I sat in silence for a long moment. Not triumphant. Not excited. Just tired. "Do you think Harper will cooperate the same way?" I asked. Luke's expression hardened more. "She has less legal confidence and more to lose. Her whole business depends on trust." The following day, Luke handled his own meeting with Harper, using his solicitor and the evidence we had organized. He did not shout. He did not threaten. He presented facts and consequences. And Harper folded the way people do when they realize the story in their head no longer matches reality. Friday morning was bright and clear. One of those Melbourne days that feel like the city is pretending nothing bad has ever happened. The final amount Nathan owed was returned before lunchtime. My lawyer confirmed settlement negotiations were now far simpler, because the core issue was no longer hidden. Luke texted me. "It's done." "Coffee," I replied. "Carlton Gardens." 11. At 11. I saw him waiting near the path, holding 2 takeaway coffees like it was the simplest thing in the world. "Still hot," he said, handing me one. We walked slowly, watching families on the grass, tourists taking photos, joggers passing with headphones in. Life continuing, indifferent to the private disasters of strangers. My phone buzzed. "Nathan again. I'm truly sorry. I never meant to hurt you." I read it, then put the phone back in my bag. "Everything all right?" Luke asked. "Better than all right," I said, surprising myself with how true it felt. I'm done letting him make me the person who begs for honesty. Over the next months, I did what I had to do. And I did it without drama. I formalized separation properly. My lawyer explained the practical reality. In Australia, divorce is no fault. But you still need to be separated for 12 months before applying. So, I treated separation as a real boundary, not a mood. I kept records. I communicated clearly. I stopped trying to be the reasonable one in conversations designed to soften me. When the time came, I filed what needed to be filed. I did not do it to punish Nathan. I did it because staying married to someone who had planned his exit with my money was not love. It was self-abandonment. I sold the Fitzroy Terrace. Not because I hated it, but because I did not want to live inside the hallway where I had walked upstairs on silent feet, thinking I was crazy for hearing laughter. I moved to a smaller place in Brunswick, near a tram line, near a cafe I liked, near a park where I could walk at night without feeling like the walls were watching me. Nathan moved to Sydney, calling it a fresh start. Harper moved to Queensland and opened a small studio. Posting sunny photos like reinvention could erase consequences. Good luck to them, honestly. I did not want them stuck in my life as villains. I just wanted them out of my future. Luke and I did not rush into anything. We did not pretend our connection was romantic destiny. We took it slowly, because we had both learned what happens when you confuse intensity with safety. Coffee. Then dinner. Then a quiet afternoon at the NGV. Then long walks along the Yarra, when the air was sharp and clean. No promises. No pressure. Just steady presence. One evening, sitting on a bench, Luke reached for my hand. It was gentle, like he was asking, not taking. I let him. And I felt something I had not felt in months, not excitement, not adrenaline, but calm. I thought about that first laugh, the antique key, the wine in my kitchen, the phone call that took 20 minutes to change the shape of my life. I thought about Nathan's face when he realized I could follow the numbers. I thought about my own face in the kitchen glass, pale and determined, like someone finally waking up. There are endings that do not need screaming to be powerful. There are clean breaks that are not tragic, just necessary. I did not survive this by becoming hard for the sake of it. I survived by becoming clear. And, for the first time in a long time, the future looked bright. Not because someone promised to save me, but because I had pulled myself out with my own hands. And I had finally stopped apologizing for needing a life that felt real.